But now I want to say something very advanced. Until now it was could be actually for everybody who is interested in Dhamma, in practice of meditation, vipassana or whatever. This was quite universal and in detail. Now there is something more which I want to say, and this is quite advanced. And it's for those who are the specialist of Dhamma. Feinschmecker. The gourmands of Dhamma. But be careful, it goes steep. I mentioned the sutta already, Rohitassa Sutta, where the Buddha is declaring that the world is in this, it goes like, in this fathom long body with its feeling, perception and intellect, I declare the world, the beginning of the world, the cessation of the world, the path leading towards the cessation of the world. It is an enormously strange sutta. And as I said, for a very long time I had some inklings what it is, because there is another sutta, like the Pena Sutta, which is Samyutta Nikaya 2295, where Buddha is describing the five khandhas, which are the constituents of a human being, or any being actually. The body, the materiality, Buddha compares to foam. You see, so this is the first clear indication that what we perceive as a material, substantial world around me and my body, that it is empty of substance or solidity. That the solidity is only a function, but not something really material, hard. That hardness is only function, but these are the tools. The mind is creating the image of the solid objects, of the so-called material objects around me. That far I could understand it. That actually the world is not that what it appears to be. And this is the basic teaching in all advanced spiritual directions. That we are living in illusion. Or better to say, in appearances. That's what the brain creates out of this sensory impingements. Because, let's be clear, that the solidity and the substantial world is created mainly by seeing out of the visual images and of the sensory impingements, the touches, the smell, even the sound is actually rupa. Now, that was somehow clear that the world is not that what it appears to us. But to declare that even the stars, the sun, the whole world is in this fathom-long body, that was still difficult for me to take. Atom bomb explosion is enormous energy. So even if you take it as an appearance, the energy is enormous. How it could be in my body? get the lesson once again, because I repeat it on all occasions. Now, let's go down to the scientific understanding, purely scientific understanding of our world. The sun is not radiating light. The sun is radiating electromagnetic waves of different wavelengths. This is the truth, which is quite scientifically described here on the scale, starting with the cosmic rays, which are extremely short. That's the size of subatomic particles, so that these rays are actually going through the Earth unhindered. Then a little bit longer are the gamma rays, that's the atomic explosion. A little bit longer are X-rays, which can penetrate the soft tissue of the body. We can see the bones. Then we have ultraviolet light. We call it light, but it is actually electromagnetic radiation. It can burn our skin when we are in the sun too long. Then there are different frequencies of electromagnetic waves around the half micron, that's about 500 nanometers. These are electromagnetic waves, nothing about light. These are electromagnetic waves. And it continues into infrared. You know, we will feel it as a warmth, but basically these are infrared, and then it continues with the microwaves, the handies, the radios, the radar, the television. You know, these are all electromagnetic waves. And some are penetrating, like the radio waves are penetrating my head, the television waves as well. I have no knowledge about it. So some of the electromagnetic waves are reflected. They are not really penetrating, they are reflected from different objects, and they disperse. And they even are coming through the lens in the eye to the retina. The retina has a sensitive cells, the rods and the cones. And there are 4 types of these cells, and they are sensitive to very particular wavelengths of these electromagnetic waves. And if that particular wavelength is arriving at the sensitive part of these cells, they are generating a chemical-electrical signal, which is probably a little bit pre-processed in the eye, but basically it goes as a chemo-electric impulse into the visual center of the brain. There is nothing about light, nothing about colors. These are electrochemical impulses or patterns of impulses. And now the huge neuronal function in the brain visual center begins. Dividing these different frequencies into contours and running through the database of previous experiences, recognizing similar experiences from the past, taking it, probably this is this stage when the impulses, electrochemical impulses, change into colors, and in this form it goes into the first processing by saññā, by perception. The most important part from this talking, please listen carefully. The most important part of this is that this whole thing is happening completely unconsciously. Perhaps even the first processing by saññā is still in the subliminal consciousness, and what we get in conscious to be aware of is the product of the neurons. And only in this stage I see a camera, I see a light, I see a tree, I see a window. Please take good lesson from this. The same thing is happening with our thoughts. They pop out of impulses. In spiritual language you would say the sankhāras are actually karmic impulses, that would be the vipaka of the previous karma. And these are the impulses which are coming into the neuronal functions. The neurons will make kind of a story out of it. It goes into the perception, and then it goes in, only after this it goes into the consciousness. I think that, and the saññā, the last stage of the saññā, always gives the footprint on it, me. I see, I want, I decide, I smell something, I hear, I would, I wish, I remember, I'm planning. Who is doing these decisions? The neurons. All decisions in our life are happening in the neuronal activities of the brain. Then it goes into the result of this neuronal function goes into, in the last stage, into the consciousness. Then it gets the fingerprint, me. I decided, I see. The whole idea of me is illusion. It's an additional, counterproductive function of the saññā, of the perception. It's very interesting that Buddha, in the Anattalakkhaṇa Sutta, one of his first discourses, is telling exactly that. These are impersonal processes. Our life is impersonal mainly. Our life is, let's say, 85% happening. And this is the difference. In uninstructed people, the life is happening 99%. They have not really even wish to do something about it. What they are living is the life of their neurons. And they think that they are living their lives. But they are living in this illusion. There is a self in the world. The real world is in the mind, in this body, as Buddha said. We are living in neuronal creations, and the mind is projecting it outwards as the world. This is the big one. And that Buddha is telling that 2,500 years ago, that we are actually living in virtual reality. Even the energy is virtual. My problem with the atom bomb and the amount of energy when a supernova explodes. Where is the energy? No. Just information. Actually, Buddha does not speak about information. He speaks about conditions, net of conditioning. So unreal is the samsara. And so real is the samsara. Because the consequences, we live the consequences of all that, of the attachments, of the identifications. To wake up from this, that's the big one. So in the spiritual, another spiritual directions like Hinduism, they speak about Maya, the cosmic illusion. It is very similar to this, but still in the Hinduism, if I know it well enough, there is this Om as a very ground basic vibration. Vibration is still energy. I think we have to go even beyond that. In the modern time, it's for us imaginable that everything is only information, which is completely immaterial, not energetic. Something like that. Is it crucial for liberation? Yes and no. As I said, it's different. Some people need really a full-scale insight into the anicca, dukkha, anatta. One thing I still have to say, talking about the brain and its functions. Everything is happening in the neuronal functions, and only the last stage is the consciousness. This is the kind of a picture from the modern neurology. That actually consciousness is just like the icing on the cake of the brain. And thin one, very thin one. That the majority actually of the functions just happen in the neurons. Now, if you go to the structure of Buddha's teaching, and especially in vipassana, and especially in Theravada and Abhidhamma, that it is not at all concerned with the contents of your experience, of your living. It is focused on the process, how it is happening. And in this neuronal picture of the brain functions, it would mean that you are completely detached of the contents of your experience. It is completely unimportant. What are you thinking? What are you seeing? What are you hearing or sensing? The focus, the awareness is enlarged a little bit into the stage when from the neurons, the final stages, it goes into the consciousness. This last stage, before you identify with the contents. Inside meditation is trying through detachment to be completely disinterested in the contents of your life experience and going to the structure, how it is happening, how the impulses, the sankhāras, these impulses from the neurons, how it is entering into the consciousness. This stage, you need to get conscious, the awareness to enlarge or move a little bit into the early stage of your experience. There it is, the anicca, dukkha, anatta, so evidently. There it goes. Like I had one experience in the first meditation. Unfortunately, it lasted perhaps only 15 seconds and never came back in that intensity. When you experience each of these impulses into consciousness, in my case perhaps 5, maximum 7 per second, 7 impulses or 5 impulses per second, per each second. The experience was, each was very different from the another one, and actually there was a kind of a germ of I already in it. So with each of these moments there was a kind of a birth and and dying. Then there was microscopic gap, and then another coming and dying, coming, dying, coming, dying. You know, it was important experience, even such a short one, unfortunately, to see how the brain is functioning, and also the function of santati. Santati is the brain function to smoothen it out and to give the appearance of a smooth life experience, sitting here, looking there, hearing this, wanting this. Not everybody needs to go that far. What is really necessary is to get beyond the idea of self, to see clearly that the life is happening, 85–90%. And as I said, the uninformed people, the life is really just happening. It's just a neuronal functions mostly. Against those who are already on the path of Dharma practice, where the space for kind of a steering the life is increasing. The mindfulness, application of mindfulness towards the five khandhas, towards the mind and body, when you are a little bit cutting the full identification with your body and mind, you are creating some space where your wisdom can come in and take the lead. I cannot imagine better end to this talk. That's the gap is bigger and bigger, that our growing wisdom of our heart can steer our life towards our liberation.